From the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Light Podcast.
Studio 665 presents Masonic Light Podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons, and is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering.
This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Masonic Light Podcast, episode 91.
91.
Oh, man.
That's
Larry, don't touch anything.
Oh, God. Larry's touching
We were sitting here for 2 hours, and Larry didn't touch anything. Now that the mics are on, he's touching things. Hey, everybody. So welcome, episode 91. We're going to have a special guest tonight, Brother Alex Powers of the Historical Light Podcast, as well as everything Midwestern.
There you go.
Our tornado expert, whatever else goes on. So, Alex, you're kind of new to us. So what we do here is not like anything you've ever seen before.
Seen or heard.
Actual magic.
Yes.
Ooh.
So basically what we do is we go around and we talk about what we've been up to since they've heard, our 8 fans have heard from us last. This is also when I give a quick shout out to our patrons.
We love them.
Yes, they sponsor us.
Yeah, Masonic Light Podcast is brought to you by our patrons at Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/Masonic Light Podcast and you can send us $1. Just $1.
$1.
Now, of course, we're going to repeatedly hit that card every month forever.
Till you die.
In perpetuity for $1. But
it's $1.
It's $1.
Just one.
It bought that nice banner that you can't see that I hung up upside down.
It looks a lot like your bookshelf, Alex.
Yeah.
Except
so
upside down.
So we'll go counterclockwise today. Larry.
Oh, God.
Have you done anything Masonically?
Yes, I have.
Nice.
Was at Lodge meeting, Lodge 476. The last Tuesday it was, wasn't it, Josh?
Yes.
I'm taking Josh's thunder away. Josh was, of course, Worshipful Master of the Lodge. Another great job. Also, Goose and Gridiron, which I failed to mention, every Thursday.
Goose and Gridiron is Larry's breakfast club for old men.
It's also...
Which we're still looking for Molly Ringwald, but she hasn't shown.
It's also a board of directors meeting for the Masonic Center in Lancaster. So, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, been busy.
Nice.
Jack, anything?
Last night was our stated meeting here at Ephrata 665, and it was ladies' night. It was sort of an impromptu ladies' night. Our Worshipful Master's trying to involve the ladies. He's kind of sort of younger. There's a lot of younger guys in the line.
It's like 75?
Yeah, 72, I think. But he's trying to involve the ladies and let them get to know each other a little more and do some things. So we pulled together a ladies' night where the ladies came in and there was one of these art classes. You know, they usually do it with wine and paint. But since we're in a Pennsylvania Masonic Lodge, we can't have any wine. So the ladies came in, and while the boys were upstairs playing in Lodge, the ladies were downstairs painting. And they had a lot of fun, and it was a good time. So that was, I think I went to Goose and Gridiron last week.
Was Larry the nude model for the...
There's not that much paint. No. No. So I think that's about it for me.
Hey, this body excites people now and then. You know?
Yeah, your cardiologist. He sees his next BMW payment. Tim.
Since we recorded last, I attended the stated meeting for Uber Grotto, where we had a special guest of Scott Matinchek talking about baseball cards.
District Deputy for Life.
Former District Deputy for Life.
Former District Deputy for Life.
Yeah, let that sink in for a few minutes. Great.
It was a good talk. It was
really
a good talk. Yeah.
We found out that we've probably thrown away millions, those of us that grew up in the 60s and 70s, in our bicycle wheels. Clipping.
I'll have to give Monarch Jeff Fulton a shout out. he is recognizing a different prophet of significance every month.
Yep.
Yes.
So the POS of the month gets, which is actually kind of brilliant.
That is
genius.
It was genius.
Yeah. So there's and the first POS is a minister. So that didn't work out so well.
But
But
biography in the next notice. Yeah.
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 So,
Alex, what have you been doing?
Hang on.
Wait.
Oh,
you
whoa,
still?
whoa,
Oh,
whoa.
jeez.
One thing.
One thing. Alex, never mind.
Thing.
All
I
right.
had one thing. Actually, this was kind of Masonic. On February 1st, I was in line with apparently about 500,000 others trying to get tickets to Cigar Fest that's coming up. I did manage to get that, and we'll have a Masonic contingency going up to that in May. But tickets were purchased then. Stated meeting for Eureka West Shore 302, where we had a scouting night focus. A couple of former guests from here led that and did a great job. And then Pete and I went to Arlington, Virginia, to Masonic Week.
Alexandria.
in beautiful
No, it's
Crystal
in-
City.
No, it's Arlington. It's in Crystal City, yeah. So at the Hyatt Regency down there, and it was very impressive. I'll tell the story. Should I tell the story now?
Yeah, go ahead. Get it out of the way.
So we had. It's amazing. I wore my Masonic Light shirt and stuff, and so we were recognized. I was really surprised by the number of people that recognized us. And Pete and I were.
It helps when you have the shirt on.
It does. So Pete and I were on an elevator going from the bar up to a hospitality room, and
Imagine that.
Imagine that. This guy was about 6'4", about 350 pounds, and he gets on and he goes, "You two, the Wahoos that are on that show, Masonic Light podcast." Pete immediately goes to the corner and looks down, like I'm not making eye contact with this guy. And of course, me, never met a stranger. I'm like, "Oh yeah, we are." He goes, "I've been trolling that show for years. You all do good work." So anyway, and I have to tell this, otherwise Larry's going to make a big deal about it. So nobody cared about me or Pete or Jack or Josh. They were all like, "Where's Larry? Is Larry here?" No, we didn't bring Larry. He's not allowed out after dark. So anyway, that's my Masonic journey in the last couple of weeks.
Alrighty. Alex, it's your time to shine. Have you done anything of significance in the past 2 or 3 weeks Masonically, or even no matter how boring? We love it.
A lot of my Masonic journey would be considered boring to many people. It's a whole lot of research. But, we actually had a ladies' table lodge just last week in preparation for Valentine's Day. So that was a lot of fun. Other than that, man, we're going strong with Kansas Lodge of Research. Got some new stuff coming out there. Always working on historical light stuff and gearing up for another round of DDGM. So always something happening Masonic-wise.
Very cool. Josh, have you done anything?
Well, I did the stated meeting of Lamberton Lodge, and we did a second degree, and I did I went to an official visit up at what is it?
Mannheim?
704. What's that?
Olivet?
Mount Olivet. Yeah.
Sounds very exciting. Anytime you can go to Lebanon County.
It was actually a fun meeting. I'll be honest.
I heard good things about that meeting.
It was actually really fun. Yeah.
So I guess the highlights of mine. First one isn't really Masonic, but I played the Czar in the Order of the Muscovites degree, which is an old Oddfellows degree that's now Seth Anthony kind of brought back, and it's just open for any fraternal person. So we did it as a fundraiser for Amaranth. That was fun. We get to yell and have a good time. And then probably one of the coolest things there is this dinosaur of an organization called OPO, Officers and Past Officers. And it's for Tall Cedars and for the district. And it's really dumb. We get together, there's 5 of us in the region, and it's probably an hour and a half, 2-hour drive from one end to the other. We get together 4 times a year. The attendance is 6 people, and we don't talk about anything because there's no business. We've written 3 checks in 15 years. I guess back in the day, this would be like a district meeting, so you know what the other people are up to. But we have email now, and we have cell phones, and Excel spreadsheets. So we voted it down. We killed it. We killed it, and we had 45 people to show up to vote to kill it. We won 45-0.
So just to be clear, and Alex, we'll pull you in here. That Pete has now killed 2 organizations like that.
Yeah, I'm going to start getting. I killed the Grotto.
You killed the Grotto thing, right? The
Colonial Grotto
Association. Yeah. But to his,
call me Kevorkian because I'm Masonic Kevorkian. I'll put them down when they need to go.
And they died a peaceful death, and no one will ever miss them. But that said, he's also signed about 120 petitions for new members. So yeah, he's a recruiting animal. So
absolutely. Alrighty, so let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to have a conversation with Alex Powers.
There we go.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. For planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com.
And we're back with our guest, Alex Powers. Alex is are you the Grand Lodge, research body arm of the Kansas Grand Lodge?
Yeah.
How does that work?
They appointed me as director of Kansas Lodge Research. Just all this going into my 3rd year of it now. Kansas Lodge Research was acting as a normal lodge for many, many years since back in the 70s. It just wasn't functioning to the level that many people would like it to be. So they actually did something kind of radical. Grandmaster pulled their bylaws, pulled all the officers, and just kind of threw it to me. Said, pedal to the metal, don't screw it up. So it's always an honor to get that kind of responsibility thrown in your lap. But
nice.
We've kind of taken off with it. Started a virtual education program and all kinds of other stuff. So we're trying to bring it up to date and get some active participation going on.
Are you collecting research papers from within Kansas or without or in general?
Both, actually. So one of the big things that kind of dropped some jaws when I took over is, some states will let interjurisdictional memberships join. Kansas, you can move out of state afterwards, but to join Kansas Masonry, you've got to be a Kansas resident. When I took over the Lodge of Research, I actually opened up that portion. So any Mason that is recognized by the Grand Lodge of Kansas can actually apply to be in the Kansas Lodge of Research. So we've got members in Kansas, we've got members California, Boston area, Texas, kind of all over the place. So
how often do you meet?
We're doing virtual education as our most frequent thing. We're doing that every other month.
Is there like a place or time that you get together and have speakers? I know in Pennsylvania we have 2 things. We have the Academy of Masonic Knowledge, and then we have the Lodge of Research. They're completely separate things, but they both meet separately. So you're not actually assembling as a lodge and having a meeting or anything like that yet.
Right. Yeah, not anymore. We try to do some in-person events, usually one at Grand Lodge session because people are there, and we try to get some other ones around. But virtual education has been that one thing that really brings it home. We've tried the in-person stuff, and what we've really struggled with, not to put it all out there, but is just participation in general. So, to put together an event and just not get guys show up. But if we do it in a virtual atmosphere like this, we use the Zoom platform for Lodge Research as well. And we'll get, 20, 30 guys from all over the place able to join in, Also, the ability to bring in a speaker from anywhere in the world and have an interactive conversation has really been beneficial to a lot of the guys' journeys. So that's been our most frequent meeting formality, but we don't have traditional officers anymore. It's, me as the director, we've got a deputy director, and then kind of a Grand Lodge relations to make sure we don't, ruffle too many feathers.
Is that a closed meeting, or can anybody? Do you have to be a Kansas a member of the Lodge of Research to sit in on that?
So typically it's closed to members, but we have been doing a thing that, if you haven't checked us out before and you want to get a taste of it, that we'll let you in for free for a meeting to get a taste of it and see if you like it. And then from there, you can put in a petition and see if you want to join.
Cool. Because I saw that you got, or I heard on the podcast that you got something from Nick Lane. He sent you something from the Castle Island Virtual Lodge. And that's a whole tiled thing. That's a tiled lodge meeting, and they open and close the long way and all that kind of stuff. So you're just more of an educational conversation about stuff like that.
Yeah. So when we hold our virtual, it's just kind of a casual format like this. We'll introduce the guys and then just go right into education. There's no actual ritual or anything like that.
So you strike me as being a young guy, because I'm getting older all the time. I'm
long in the tooth.
I am. I think I'm aging like 3 years a year. I don't know how that's working, but I am. But how did you fall into this? I mean, this seems like this was a pretty big load to drop on your plate. What was your experience before you got into all this?
So it wasn't in the plans, right? I'm fifth generation Masons that I can actually verify to paper of, being admitted into a lodge. I've got other members of my family that I believe were Masons, but can't pinpoint them. But growing up, I'd see the symbols on the gravestones and all that. And all I'd get from my parents is, it's some cult, you know what I mean? And so I never learned any more. And honestly, growing up, I didn't really have the desire. To me, it was just, an old guys club, didn't really see any importance to it. But when I got with my now wife, her dad was longtime Mason, and it was just the world to him. And it's like every conversation I go over there is just masonry this, masonry that, try to get me to join. And I was like, no. Once he stopped, I swear to God, it was like everywhere. I'd see it on TV. I'd see hats. And then I'd be like, hey, can we talk about this? No. Whoa, what? I'm interested. Let's talk about this. And so finally I've been his ear enough and got in, and it's a good thing I don't drink or smoke or anything, because it's addictive. As you can see, this is our guest bedroom. It's termed as the Mason room, and it just kind of took off full force, man. So it's a huge part of my life now. Obviously got into the history side of it and haven't looked back. It's just it's been something that really took my fancy.
Did you have experience in doing that kind of research and archiving and that sort of stuff? Was that no? This is just like somebody pulled you out of the weeds and said, "Here, do this."
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, I was not even a history fan. I really wasn't. My stepfather is a published author in the realm of World War II stuff, and huge into history, and just never really caught my eye. And it was really, I was raised in Lenexa Lodge, and then once we moved out here to Gardner, I transferred to Gardner Lodge, and there's just something about that. When I walked into Gardner Lodge, it's an old rural country town lodge. And the history was just lacking so much. The first thing that caught my eye, I went up to the Tyler's quarters, and every lodge has their basement, whatever, just plastered with past master pictures.
Sure.
Well, this lodge was just shy of 150 years, and they had a poster-sized frame with like 12 photos in it. That's it. That's all that had been recovered. So I just immediately saw like somewhere that I could jump in and be of assistance. And from there, it's just history took me. It was right after starting that I sparked up Historical Light. And if you listen to the very first episode, I was very blunt with everybody. I'm like, look, I don't have a degree in history. I don't have any kind of past in this. I'm learning as I go, but I have a passion, and it's going to be a journey. And from that point, it's just kind of grown into what it is today.
I think the most important word that came out of that whole thing was passion. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the big things that's missing in general is passion. And it's great when somebody finds it and gets a chance to exercise their passion in the craft. And
well, it's addicting when you see somebody is excited then you pay attention to them.
Right.
When you see somebody just muddling through something, you lost me.
Right.
So what are some of the so as you started digging around your lodge, what were some of the first like eye openers that you didn't expect to find?
Man, so when I first started out, it was just, I didn't even know where to start. There was just so much mystery. We were missing so many past master photos. People really couldn't tell me the history of the lodge, but bits and pieces. We had this massive photo on the north wall that, just really stands out. It's a creepy photo, follows you everywhere you go, but nobody knew who the hell it was. Like,
the all-seeing eye.
Exactly. So it was just so much curiosity, man, that I just started delving into not only our minutes, but into local history. It's a small town, especially when the lodge first started. I mean, Gardner, Kansas in 1868. It's small today. I could only imagine back then. So there's a lot of stuff. Most surprising, man, right off the top of my head, I'd have to say when I learned about the fire of the building. So our building was our lodge was chartered 1868. They leased space from Oddfellows for quite a few years, and then around the 1880s they built their first building. It's a wood structure. It lasted to 1906, and that thing caught on fire. I don't know if it was a scam or not. We read in the minutes, for quite a while, they were talking about the value of the place and not being worth it. And then all of a sudden it catches on fire.
What? No!
Yeah. Everybody's like, this place is going to burn. And, then it did. I don't know. I'm not pointing fingers, but they got a new building out of it. But the thing that really caught my
statute of limitations, buddy. Hey, we're good.
Right? The thing that really caught my eye there, though, and allowed me to proceed to where I am today with our lodge history, was the then secretary and past master, Brother Frank Lyon. When that building caught on fire, Frank rushed from his house to the lodge, ran into the burning building, and actually recovered all of our meeting minutes back to day one.
Oh, wow.
And wow. It was only because of that action that I was able to write the book. I mean, everything would have been lost. So that really threw me. And then just recently, I found in that same evening that the sitting master that year, and I'm going to slip on his name, Carl Harris, actually, he was the guy out there pumping the hand pump water for the firefighters for 4 hours straight, I believe. Jeez. So it's just kind of mind blowing when you think back in the day and that kind of commitment.
And is your lodge are you in a small town? Are you in a small city, or are you really rural?
So to me, it's a small town. We moved here from Shawnee, which is just outside of the city pretty much. So a more busy suburban area. So when we moved out to Gardner, me and my wife, this is Cowtown. To everyone out here, they feel like it's the big city because over the last decade, it's grown so much. So you can't really call it rural, I guess, anymore. For the metro area, we're just right on the edge. You go past us, it really starts to get kind of nothing, but we've got everything.
Do you have a Panera Bread? Because if you have a Panera Bread, then you're in. That's.
I mean, not in Gardner, but one stop up the highway there.
All right.
What about a Circle K? Do you have a Circle K?
No,
Circle K.
They're not that popular around Kansas City. Actually.
What's your mini market of record out there?
The convenience store, gas station you see everywhere is Quick Trip. They're
okay.
QT. Yeah.
Oh wow. So how long have you been doing the podcast? You're up around what episode in the 80s, right? Mm-hmm. 80 episodes, something like that?
No, so we took a break for a while. When I was master, it got crazy. So we're lower on episodes. I think we're pushing 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're lower on episodes. Been doing it since 2016. But we put a lot of focus into the group as well. So, I mean, we try to post episodes twice a month. There for a while, I had to take a bit of sabbatical. I took on positions with the Grand Lodge and stuff and bit off more than I could chew. But we try to stay regular with the page, with the group. There's always history going on there, keeping the conversations flowing and, just anything we can to push the preservation of Masonic history before it disappears, man.
So I noticed on your Facebook page that you posted a photograph of a history of a lodge called the Charles M. Howell Lodge in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
And that's in our district. So we know the Charles M. Howell Lodge very well.
And
whatever's in that history book is all lies. Don't believe it.
And very important, they just opened up a bar on the same property.
Oh, they did?
The Skinny Mini movie theater
is
now a bar.
Nice.
So you can walk right out of the meeting and go grab a adult beverage.
Outstanding. We haven't repealed prohibition in Pennsylvania yet.
Well, Alex doesn't realize it, but our studio is in the Ephrata Lodge, and right above they rent space to the Wine and Spirit store, which is a Pennsylvania State store. And so we drilled a hole in the ceiling. We just pass bottles up and down. Although we don't drink in this lodge.
No, never do. Never do. No. So actually, that's a bit of our history. Is we were meeting across the street. We chartered in 1910. We were meeting across the street. The building we're in now was a movie theater, and in 1933 it caught fire. And this is I don't know how they pulled this off, but within 3 days. The lodge had moved past and bought this burned out building and then rebuilt it. They had the plans all drawn up for the whole thing to be a Masonic temple. And then Prohibition was repealed. And as soon as Prohibition was repealed, the state, somebody was connected to somebody somewhere, and the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board rented space. They actually moved into the building before we did. So they've been our tenants since 1935.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's our cool little claim to fame here.
You know, I don't know, not to point fingers, but, you know, I was kind of suspicious about my lodge's deal. You guys
You're connecting the dots, are we? Yeah, 3 days. Somebody was holding that motion in a back pocket somewhere. But anyway, well, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back for a little more with Alex.
At the historic Smithton Inn of Ephrata, Pennsylvania, we're pleased to serve the latest creations from Weathered Vineyard Winery, along with spirits from Thistlefinch Distillery in Lancaster, all to be experienced in the tasting room of a beautifully restored 18th century bed and breakfast. Cigars by D&S Cigar are available for your enjoyment in the courtyard. The historic Smithton Inn is convenient to Lancaster County's most interesting attractions, just minutes from the Ephrata Cloister and the Green Dragon Farmers Market. And a short drive can get you to charming Lidditz, thriving downtown Lancaster, as well as Hershey, Bird in Hand, and Intercourse, or Valley Forge and Gettysburg. Whether you're looking for a romantic getaway or an active vacation full of sightseeing and attractions, the historic Smithton Inn will be a welcoming oasis from everyday life, one that you'll want to visit again and again. Stop in and visit at 900 West Main Street in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, or check out our website at historicsmithtoninn.com, or simply call us at 717-733-6094. Just ask for Pastmaster Dave.
So we're back, and while we were away, we had a really good interview with Alex. And
and that's all, folks.
You're not going to hear it, but it was awesome.
Well, it's because of my lack of geography skills. I was trying to find out how far away things are out in Kansas.
And in Kansas, we're trying to figure out how far away we can get from here.
So they're southwest of Kansas City, not far. Yeah. Like, for us, not far.
Well, we sent you Andy Reid, so you should be ever grateful.
Wait a minute. He's in Missouri, though.
Yeah, Missouri. All right. So you're one of your big passions is preserving all this cool stuff that you're finding. I heard you talking on one of your episodes about finding, what was it, the Constitution or a copy of the Bill of Rights or something like that was...
Oh, yeah, both actually. And believe it or not, I got them right behind me. Grab 1 second.
Did you steal them out of your lodge? Nice,
like Nicolas Cage.
Pilfering. Yeah, is there secret writing on the back?
Yeah, not stolen. Trying to get a good picture of them. I don't want to take them out of here because I do believe they'll just crumble to dust. but trying to get a solid picture so we can kind of preserve it. But I didn't know these existed. Like I said, Frank Lyon went in and got all the books. These must have been remaining on the wall afterwards. And this is another one of those things, nobody could tell me. These were hanging in the dining hall, and everyone's like, I don't know, they're old and they're dark and we can't read them. And I don't know how well it's going to show. But when I got these things home, and oh yeah, that's really glared. Maybe right there. Yeah. If you really look up close, that is smoke and heat damage. And wow. I mean, that's from the fire. These are left over. These were hanging on the wall in the original lodge. Ooh. So this stuff just, man, it amazes me. But going through our lodge history, putting this bad boy together, I realized the books that I was going through were just, literally like that paper crumbling before our hands. And the pages that were still there that you could read, or that were physically still there, you could just barely read. A lot of these guys made their own ink back in the day. They mixed it up, and when they were running low, they added some water, and it's just so washed out. So I'm trying to get through to guys, not just in Kansas, but literally everywhere. That's the big push behind Historical Light, is to recover this history, because a lot of guys through the years just didn't take the history seriously and just kind of let it go, like my lodge did. And other guys think that just because we have it in a file cabinet in the back room, hey, it's all good. That stuff's disappearing before our eyes. Either it's disintegrating or that ink is just fading off the paper, and before you know it, it's gone. In my eyes, I think we are the last generation or two in many, many cases that has the opportunity to save this history. And if we don't do it, man, we're doing a disjustice not to the guys only before us, but after us as well. So it's, it's kind of one of those things. It's like you're your brother's keeper, right? And there's so much legacy here. It's really up to us to preserve it. So that's a sizable book that you just held up.
The book I did was like a little teeny tiny.
Yeah, well, usually Masonic research books I see are like, it's a pamphlet. But no, that's a serious book. So what kind of what kind of
671?
Wow, what kind of stories are you relating in the book?
Literally everything I could get my hands on. The book was an accident. It was never intended to be a book. When I started this out, it was just going to be, I was going to put content on the lodge website and grow it. Then it went from the website to the show. And then guy was like, hey, we've got our 150. You should rewrite the history book. We had this, it's probably 17 pages. At the 100-year 1968, 1968, 100-year anniversary. They wrote a history book for the first 100 years. He summed it up in 17 pages, and he did what he could, but literally skipped over generations. And he'd mentioned in there that several of the books from the very first years were missing. So it was a lot of he say, she say from around town. And once I started going through the old minutes, I quickly came to know that a lot of the stuff was just false. Or just not presented correctly, or just skipped over entirely. There was so much that I thought was really neat facts. So being kind of a nerdy historian, I wrote the book in an odd manner, and that kind of gives quality to why it's so long. I went through and did a chapter or a section for every single one of the 150 years, and literally start out every chapter, if I can get to a page here, with the master and the rundown of here's for 1869. But you'll get the master, the year, all the officers, and that's actually clipping straight out of the Grand Lodge proceedings for the year. So it'll give you the stats and stuff for the year. And then I run through and literally everything of importance, try to cover it in there. And stuff, like I said, I'm kind of a nerd, so stuff that people do not think is important is probably in there because I think it was important.
Did you tie it out to the larger community at all, Gardner? Like what was going on in Gardner, and did members of your lodge participate in municipal stuff? And
exactly. So, Gardner was a small Kansas town, so as in many Masons that we find in the early days, they were prominent figures. We had the first mayor. We had one of the first sheriffs, first surgeon, first dentist. Emmanuel Clark, the guy that you just saw in that picture, badass in real life. He was a Civil War officer. And before he ever got to Gardner, in Not even his last battle. That's what kills me, is not even his last battle in the war. One fight, he gets shot in the left knee. He gets shrapnel through the other knee. He gets shot in his lower stomach, and it ricochets up 12 to 14 inches. They had to cut that out in the field. He got shot in one of his arms. He got another shrapnel in the other arm. I mean, dude just got tore up. Took a couple weeks off, went on to fight 2 more battles before he Yeah, right?
Wow,
like just a total badass.
So
And then the past masters took him down.
That's not how we did it my day.
I mean, that was even before he even came here. He came here and he was a member of the local government. He was instrumental. I cannot talk tonight. Instrumental in getting the local school board set up. Just kind of everything, man. Just involved in so much, and blew my mind. Found the old plot map for Gardner. I was trying to find out where these guys lived. One of his houses on his property owned a quarter claim just 2 miles from me. The house is still there from the 1890s,
Cool.
Still standing, about to tip over. It's got no trespassing signs everywhere on it, but just blows your mind to go look at.
We don't see those kinds of civic leaders in Lodge very much anymore. I'm not sure why. There's got to be a reason, because it's universal across the fraternity.
Well, we have, like, if somebody's running for district attorney or judge,
yeah.
they tend to come and join, and
All
then
of a
they never
sudden
they never come back again.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I personally kind of think in today's society, it's almost a little bit of political suicide to be directly related.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for the unknowing, Freemasonry has a bad ring to people.
And this is one thing I listened to your Oddfellows episode, and it occurred to me as I was driving down the road. I'm like, how come there was never an anti-Oddfellows movement? There was never an anti-Oddfellows political party.
Right.
There was never an anti-Oddfellows papal, decree. What? Why? They
minded their own
bigger
business.
Than Freemasonry for a while.
They minded their own business.
I guess. I don't know.
They weren't linked to the Knights Templar, that's why.
Oh, my. I'm going to poke you with a fork. Anyway. All right. So, Alex, anything you want to plug before we
Yeah, if people want to check out your Facebook page, or they want to check out the podcast, how do we send them over?
I'm going to say one thing. If you want to see a model for how to put together your lodge's history book, grab a copy of Alex's book. I saw that you posted how to get it on your Facebook page. It's a beautiful creation. I mean, you really killed it.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it was a labor of love, man. It took a long time to get through. Honestly, a lot of it was thanks to my wife. She kind of helped me read through the minutes so I could write and type, because we were running short on time. And that cracked me up. Just as a side note there, my wife liked to read it like it was a soap opera. And she would literally she'd read about these guys coming into Lodge, and then, a book later, they've got, cancer. They're 90 years old. They're dying. She's sitting there just bawling. And I'm like, nobody gets the passion like you do out of reading minutes. But yeah, man, the book, like I said, was a labor of love. We published it because I hope it'll stick around, but it's one of those niche inside of a niche inside of a niche, right? So it's Masonic history, Gardner, Kansas. Nobody's ever heard of it, but like I tell guys all the time, don't think their Masonic history in their lodge is important. Every lodge is a part of that link, man. So there's stuff in here that would blow your mind, and honestly would be in every lodge. So that's what we push on the show with Historical Light. If you guys want to check us out, myself and my co-host Robert Marshall host that. You can find us at historicallight.com. We're on Facebook. We have a group, Historical Light Masonic Research Group, where we try to stay a little bit away from like the others that just post everything, and we keep it strictly Masonic history. So if you guys are interested, love to see you in there.
Awesome.
What's reading through 100 plus years of lodge history, or maybe almost 200? So what are some of the best, I don't know, what are some of the crazier things that came out by reading the minutes?
We had a few lodge trials that were just extremely well documented. Still, and this is what blows my mind, man, is we still had like the tally marks in there. They had the little page where they tallied these guys out. It's kind of an odd mark, but there is a page, and I document it in the book because I see this stuff as cool, even though no one else does. There was a 130-year-old smashed fly on one of the pages.
That's great.
And it's like you smell these books, and it's not just old must. I mean, you can smell the cigar smoke. You can just smell the heat of the room. And I open it up, and there's this smashed fly, and you're looking at it. You're like, yeah, that bastard's original. That's not a new fly. And it puts you in the moment, right? You're all of a sudden you're sitting in 1892 in this old stuffy lodge room. Guys are pissed off. They're sweating. This fly can't stop. And bam, and there it is for 100 years down the road.
Got that.
Josh gonna have to do some beeping.
Now, meanwhile, now you're going to die of dysentery for touching a 200-year-old fly.
Exactly, man. But no, we found some interesting stuff. There was a guy, I won't name him by name, but he was a member of the lodge. I never saw him as an officer, but he got a little peeved at somebody right outside the lodge. It wasn't another Mason. It was just somebody in the town. Pulled a revolver on him in the middle of the street out there, and it was documented that, he got charged for disorderly conduct and using unfit language in front of a lady is what the Masonic Lodge charged him with.
Wow.
They had document in there. One of the guys was saying, "Remember your obligations, brother. Remember your obligations." Just yelling at him through the road. Stuff like that really stuck out to me. Just, it puts it into picture. Just really, really often. But
wow.
Just so much stuff,
I've read our minutes, and it's like, compared to that, it's like reading a Kleenex box. There's nothing in our minutes like that.
Yeah, the most exciting thing in our minutes, on the wall of the Masonic Center is a page framed, and they're discussing buying I guess it was receipt for brandy, cigars, and beer.
Oh, yeah. We've got some of those, man, for sure. But what I tell everyone else, preserving what you have is crucial, but also recovering, because as I came to find out, you see what's in the minutes. The minutes can be very bland. There is so much that goes on outside the minutes.
Oh,
they sold our building outside the minutes. I mean, never touched on it in the minutes whatsoever.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. Like the building we have now, after the fire, they built it, and within 2 years sold the entire building. And it literally went from one meeting, they're talking about renting the downstairs to a new tenant. Great. And then it went to, we're running a little bit short on cash. We might have to look at selling the downstairs. To the very next meeting, hey, since we sold the whole building, we better figure something out of where we're going to meet.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, wait, what? No vote? No nothing? But they ended up selling it to a brother and working out a 99-year lease and all this jazz. So there's so much outside the minutes that never gets covered. So looking into your local history and seeing how your lodge, touches your town's history, that's really important too. There's usually a lot of connection there.
Yeah,
Hell, I just found 2 weeks ago that in our Annie room, our preparation room, our chamber of reflection, we had a dentist office for like 2 decades. Oh, wow. I had no idea. I was telling her, I was like, can you imagine going into a chamber of reflection and having all these early 1900 like dental tools hanging on the wall?
I think that'd be awesome.
That would cause me to reflect. Yeah.
That was
What am I joining?
yeah. Our friend Seth Anthony is well, it's not hard to be big in the Oddfellows. I think if you join, you're in charge of the Oddfellows now. But his Oddfellows Lodge in Middletown, Pennsylvania, he's walking around. And he has these keys, and he goes, "Well, what's that door for?" I don't know. We haven't opened it in 40 years. And he's thinking like he had this like national treasure kind of moment. None of the keys work. Turns out like this room was rented to some other fraternal organization that used their building. And then they went defunct, and all of their equipment whether it was like the Eagles or who it was,
Right.
all their stuff was in this closet that has been sitting there since like 1955.
Nice. Like Lodge 49. I love it.
Exactly.
For real. Yeah, and that's wild. It's weird to think how many lodges literally just pack up and leave everything there. I mean, there was a story just not too long ago. I think Brother Hodat put out about this young couple that bought a lodge, and there was still the charter hanging on the wall, and the new owners are taking a picture in front of it. I'm like, they left the charter? Like, really?
Wow.
I think that's supposed to be returned. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We're going to have to... It makes me want to do more history of our lodge. Josh.
Get on that.
Well, hey, man, I'll put the challenge out there. You guys do the history of your lodge, and I want to see you guys come on Historical Light, and we're going to reverse this bad boy.
All right.
Hey, perfect.
I'll send you the one I did. Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, so how do we find your your Facebook page again? Just look for Historical Light on Facebook, and we find it?
Yeah. Facebook.com/Historical Light. You can find us on YouTube as well. We host all our episodes there. Podcast side goes out syndicated all over all the major podcast networks, but most centralized, you can find the website, historicallight.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time tonight, Alex.
This is our book, by the way, right here.
Fantastic. Blue with a square. I can't see anything.
Well, yeah, my webcam is like from 2003. 2003.
I appreciate the historical webcam.
Yeah.
That's what we'll call the YouTube channel, Historical Webcam. I love it. All right. Well, thanks for being with us.
We're going to take a quick break,
guys.
and we'll come back and we'll wrap up the show, and you get to hear all the other nonsense that we do here.
It's time for the Lodge Business Brief with Brother Jim Stevens.
Well, again, Masonic Light podcast listeners, this is Jim Stevens with another Lodge Business Brief. Tracking what is important to your success is a simple yet effective way to ensure it. In previous briefs, we have discussed setting goals and creating measurables that track the progress through those goals. In this brief, we will further develop and define those measurables. As a recap, you should identify a few numbers that will give leadership early visibility of a potential problem. For example, measuring the number of people raised will not give any indication that you may not meet your new member goal until it is too late. By tracking the number of petitions received, the number of people attending your open house would provide direct feedback and predict success. An additional advantage of creating measurables is you will now be able to make decisions based on data and not just feelings. If your open house is not converting anyone to becoming a member, then it is clear something needs to change. Conversely, if it generates a bunch of new members, then it should be expanded, and the idea should be shared with neighboring lodges. Another key part to a good measurable is to make it simple. Don't create a lot of unnecessary work or complexity. If it becomes too onerous to track or to report, it will not happen. For example, it is probably unrealistic to ask every member to report every time they are discussing joining the lodge with a non-Mason. While that may be nice to know, it crosses a line with privacy, creates an extra burden that will not be followed, and discourages the actual act of discussion. To be successful, the measurable also needs to be regularly reported and discussed. In this case, out of sight, out of mind does indeed apply. Again, the measurable should be a predictor of a problem. The longer the number is ignored, the less time there will be to fix that identified problem. Methods of reporting would be best identified by who is participating in the activity being tracked. If a leadership-related number, then only a few people need to actually see it, and maybe quarterly reporting will be enough. And then maybe half a year to the entire membership. But if it's a number that the entire lodge needs to know, they will all need to know it, and maybe on a monthly basis. For our fraternity, monthly seems to be a good timetable for many types of reporting. But similar to the reporting method, the timing should be customized to the number. It doesn't make sense to report the number of pancake tickets sold until the tickets are actually on sale. But when they are, once a month may not be sufficient to make sure that the pancake breakfast will be successful. Weekly reporting may be the best way to understand if there's going to be a problem. Additional ideas on how to track success can be found in my book, Lodge Business, The Theoretical Application of Entrepreneurial Business Practices to Blue Lodge, available on Amazon. This is Jim Stevens with your Lodge Business Brief.
Tonight, I offer an editorial, which I seldom do. I've only done, 2 or 3 in 4 years.
Never.
Yeah, I've done 0.
You must do them on the days I skip.
Well, anyway, since our last podcast, we have witnessed an unfolding tragedy of family loss. I'm speaking about the loss of basketball great Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter a couple of weeks ago. We sat in disbelief as the story unfolded, realizing the profound changes to this family and friends and to an adoring nation of fans. At the same time, we also realized 7 other people perished in that flight as well. 4 families, in one instant, had their lives changed forever. Last week, I called a dear friend and a Masonic brother of mine, and he told me about a tragedy that took place in his family the same day as the Kobe Bryant accident. His 13-year-old grandson was killed in an air crash in a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia, Coweta County to be exact. A new plane was delivered to the local airport, and the grandson, already learning to fly, wanted to take it out for a quick flight with a very experienced pilot, a friend of the family. So the young man asked his mom if he could do that, and she immediately agreed. And during the flight, the plane's canopy became loose, flew off, and destroyed the tail section of the aircraft, causing the plane to crash to the ground. Both pilot and grandson were killed. So tonight, do something for me. Tell your kids, your wife or girlfriend, your brother or sister, or anyone close to you that you love them. You'll feel better for the rest of your life, and I guarantee they will feel better for the rest of theirs, even after you're long gone.
In Masonic news today, chiropractors from around the country descended on Alexandria, Virginia this past week to tend to the many injured Freemasons who attended AMD Week at Crystal City. The number of back injuries caused by excessive lapel loading was astounding, said one emergency medical worker. Related complaints included lower back pain brought on by frequent apron sniffing and headaches caused by squinting at name badges. Several rogue Masons were heard to exclaim, "We don't need no stinking badges." These mavericks were removed from the event for being refractory. That's the Masonic news. So moved was.
Well, the hospitality rooms were fun.
Hospitality rooms were great.
Larry?
Yo, take us home.
Yeah.
A special thanks to Effort Lodge 665 for making this broadcast studio available and possible. Thanks to Josh Lamberton, our producer and director, who continues to make the show listenable. Thanks to Jack Harley, our news director, Tim Dedman, our marketing director, and to Masonic Light podcast contributors Michelle Snyder and Jim Stevens. And oh, by the way, Michelle, happy birthday, sweetie.
Aw.
Thank you for listening. This is Larry Maris.
Jack Harley.
Tim Dedman.
And I'm Pete Ruggieri, out of patience.
And this is Josh. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
You had one job, Larry.
Job.
One job.
Well, at least we got that recorded.
Take two.
That'll give us somewhere.